Ram sells the best-selling truck in America, and it costs its owners more to maintain than almost any other vehicle on the road. The Ram 1500 outsells nearly every passenger vehicle in the country. It is built for work, marketed for toughness, and purchased by men who pride themselves on making smart decisions with their money. Yet the average Ram 1500 owner spends $1,070 per year on maintenance and unplanned repairs, roughly 34% more than the average truck owner across all brands combined. A contractor named Dave Kowalski in Akron, Ohio, bought his Ram 1500 in 2021 because the monthly payment felt manageable. 3 years later, he has spent more keeping it running than he paid in his first year of ownership. By the end of this, you'll understand exactly why that number keeps climbing, and why the people who profit from it designed the system that way. That answer starts with a decision made not in Detroit, but in Auburn Hills, Michigan, in 2009. There are 6.4 million Ram 1500 trucks currently registered and in active use across the United States, Canada, and Australia. That is not a niche vehicle. That is a moving economy. Those 6.4 million owners are spending, collectively, an estimated $6.8 billion per year on maintenance, repairs, and service contracts. That is more than the annual GDP of several small nations. And a disproportionate share of that money flows not to independent mechanics, but to a dealer service network that Ram's parent company, Stellantis, controls with extraordinary precision. Dave Kowalski didn't know any of that in 2021. He knew the sticker price. He knew the towing capacity. He knew his trade-in value. What he didn't know was that his Ram 1500's 8-speed automatic transmission, the ZF8HP, had a documented history of shudder failures beginning around 36,000 miles. His dealer knew. The service bulletins existed. Nobody mentioned them at signing. By mile 40, 1,200, Dave's transmission was shuddering under load. The repair estimate, $4,400. His warranty had expired at 36,000 miles, exactly the threshold where failures began appearing in Ram's own internal service data. And Dave is not an outlier, he is the median. The villain here is not a single bad dealer. It is a system, a parts pricing structure, a warranty cliff, and a service network that together extract maximum value from the moment a truck leaves the lot. But this is only the surface layer. To understand how Ram owners ended up here, you have to go back to 2009. Chrysler filed for bankruptcy in April of that year. The federal government provided a $12.5 billion bailout. Fiat acquired a controlling stake. And the company that emerged, eventually rebranded as Stellantis after a 2021 merger with PSA Group, rebuilt its truck division with one central economic priority: profitability per vehicle, not longevity per vehicle. That distinction matters. It changes everything. Stellantis made a deliberate choice to source specific Ram components, including the ZF transmission, certain fuel pump assemblies, and the e-Torque mild hybrid system introduced in 2019, exclusively through its own dealer parts network. Independent shops cannot access OEM spec replacements through standard supply chains. They order from Stellantis-authorized distributors at Stellantis set prices on Stellantis timelines. The ZF8HP transmission is manufactured in Germany. The exact same unit is used in BMW 5 Series, Jaguar XF, and Maserati Ghibli vehicles. A remanufactured ZF8HP sourced independently for a European vehicle costs approximately $1,800 to $2,200. The same transmission, routed through Stellantis' dealer network for a Ram 1500, carries a list price of $3,900 to $4,800. Same part, same factory, different channel, different price. Stellantis also restructured its extended warranty product, the MaxCare service contract, in 2020, narrowing the powertrain coverage window while increasing the per-month cost by an average of 18%. The change was announced in a footnote adjustment to dealer pricing documentation. It was not communicated to buyers already holding contracts. Dave Kowalski held a MaxCare contract. His transmission shudder fell under a classified exclusion, a fluid contamination clause that Stellantis service advisors began applying more broadly after 2021. But here's what most people get wrong. Most Ram owners believe their maintenance costs are high because trucks are complex machines. That is partially true, but complexity is not the primary cost driver. Margin architecture is. Stellantis's parts division, Mopar, generated $4.2 billion in revenue in 2023. That figure represents Stellantis's single highest margin business segment. Not truck sales, not SUVs, parts. The average gross margin on a new Ram 1500 at the dealer level is approximately 8% to 12%. The average gross margin on Mopar replacement parts sold through the dealer service network is 43% to 61%. To put that in human terms, for every $100 a Ram owner spends at the dealer service desk, between $43 and $61 is pure margin, profit extracted before a single labor hour is counted. The ZF8 HP transmission shutter issue illustrates this precisely. Stellantis issued Technical Service Bulletin 21-068-21 in August 2021, acknowledging the shutter pattern and prescribing a transmission fluid flush with a proprietary fluid, ATF Plus 4, available exclusively through Mopar, at $22.49 per quart, requiring 8 quarts per service. That is $179.92 in fluid alone, before labor. The identical fluid specification, sourced independently, costs $8.10 per quart. Stellantis priced its version at 278% above the open market equivalent. Dave Kowalski paid for that flush at mile 38,000. The shutter returned at mile 41,200. He then paid for the transmission replacement. That is the counterintuitive turn. The flush was never designed to permanently solve the problem. It was designed to reset the symptom clock. The economic cascade is deliberate. TSB 21-068-21 prescribes the fluid flush as a first-line repair. The flush delays the shutter by an average of 8,000 to 14,000 miles, based on owner-reported data aggregated across Ram forums and independent diagnostic databases. By the time the shutter returns, many trucks have crossed the 36,000-mile warranty threshold. The owner then faces a full transmission replacement, outside warranty, at full dealer pricing. The average Ram owner who experiences this sequence spends $5,100 to $6,800 on a problem that, had it been addressed with a transmission redesign, which Stellantis engineers proposed internally in 2022 and the company declined to fund, would have cost $214 per vehicle at scale. Stellantis chose margin over resolution. That decision is now sitting in 6.4 million driveways. If you've owned a Ram, or you work on them, or you've watched someone you know get caught in this cycle, you already felt that something wasn't right. You just didn't have the numbers to name it. That instinct was correct. The system is structured to extract, not to serve. And the men who built American industry with their hands, who buy these trucks because they need them to work, are the ones absorbing the highest cost per mile of anyone on the road. What most people don't realize is that this is not a Ram-specific phenomenon. Stellantis applies the same margin architecture across Dodge, Jeep, and Chrysler platforms. The Jeep Grand Cherokee's 9-speed transmission carries identical parts channel pricing restrictions. The Dodge Durango's transfer case components follow the same Mopar exclusivity model. This is a corporate strategy, not a manufacturing accident. Independent mechanics know this. Fleet managers know this. Rental companies have moved away from Stellantis platforms specifically because of total cost of ownership data. Enterprise Rent-A-Car reduced its Stellantis fleet share from 31% in 2018 to 19% in 2023, citing maintenance cost variance as the primary driver. The average private buyer doesn't have access to fleet-level cost data. Stellantis knows that. And knowing that changes every decision, from the truck you buy to the warranty you sign to the mechanic you choose. Which brings us to what happens next. Ram will release the 2026 Ram 1500 Ramcharger, its first extended-range electric truck, with a starting price of $58,995 and a parts network that will be even more tightly controlled than its combustion predecessors. The eTorque battery modules, the electric drive units, the software-locked service protocols, all of them routed exclusively through Stellantis-authorized service centers. The men who bought Ram because they trusted American toughness will face the same system, wearing a new badge, running on a new powertrain, extracting money through the same channel architecture that cost Dave Kowalski $6,200 over 3 years on a truck he bought to save money. The question is no longer whether the system will keep doing this. The question is whether the next generation of buyers will walk into that dealership knowing what you now know, or whether they'll find out the same way Dave did, at mile 41,200, staring at a repair estimate they never saw coming.